Okay, so today we're diving into something you really don't get to see every day. I'm talking about a raw FBI intelligence file. It's this document, just packed with unverified tips and some pretty shocking allegations about some of the world's most famous people. So let's break down what's really going on here.
All right, here it is. This is the document at the center of everything we're talking about today. It's an internal summary table from the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. That's NTOC for short. We're going to peel back the layers here, look at what's inside, what it tells us, and this is super important, what it doesn't tell us about how this whole intelligence gathering thing works. So that leads us to the big questions, right? What is actually inside this file? And what happened next? We're going to look at these really disturbing claims made by people calling in and sending tips online. And then we're going to see the FBI's own notes on how they responded, or in some cases, maybe didn't.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what this NTOC names file even is. Then, we'll look for patterns in all these allegations and check out the big names that pop up. After that, we'll track the official response, and finally, try to make sense of it all, the raw intel and the questions it leaves behind. Okay, first things first. We have to understand what kind of document we're even looking at. This isn't some final report, you know? It's not a list of charges. Think of it more like a snapshot from the very, very beginning of the intelligence pipeline.
And everything, I mean everything, hinges on this one key concept, raw intelligence. What does that mean? It means everything we're about to look at is totally unverified. It's basically a collection of tips, phone calls, online forms, just allegations, not facts. It would take a ton of investigation just to figure out if any of it is even credible. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual content. When you start digging through this file, you notice pretty quickly that the tips seem to fall into a few different buckets. So the first category is what you might call second-hand information. A whole lot of these tips aren't from people saying, hey, I saw this happen. Nope. They're passing along stories they heard from someone else. You know, a friend, a neighbor, maybe an ex-girlfriend.
This right here is a perfect example. The person calling the FBI isn't the witness. They're reporting what their friend, who they claim was an assistant to Epstein, told them. It's classic telephone, a textbook piece of secondhand info. Okay, the next category? It's way more direct. These are calls from people who are claiming to be either victims or direct witnesses. They're sharing their own personal experiences.
And wow, this entry is a really powerful example of a first-hand account. The caller isn't just telling a story they heard. They are reporting a sexual assault that they say happened to them. These are the kinds of tips that obviously carry a different kind of weight, but even so, they still have to be verified.
And then there's this third category, a theme that just keeps popping up throughout the document. We're talking about these really complex allegations of organized sex trafficking rings, often pointing fingers at multiple high-profile people and places. This quote really shows you just how tangled these allegations can be. I mean, it names a specific place, a key person like Ghislaine Maxwell, and describes this whole criminal operation. It's not just one person or one event. It's a huge claim that connects people, places, and criminal activity all together.
Which brings us to, honestly, one of the most jaw-dropping parts of this file, the sheer number of really famous public figures who are named in these unverified tips.
And you can see exactly how the FBI was keeping track. Look at this. The document has a whole column dedicated to notable names. It's basically a quick reference guide, a summary of who got mentioned in each complaint. It's just a really stark visual way of seeing how this information was being logged. So, who are we talking about? The names that come up in these tips include former presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, of course the central figures Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, TV host Robin Leach, Britain's Prince Andrew, the lawyer Alan Dershowitz, and even businessman Elon Musk. Now I have to say it again because it is so important. Their names are in this file only because of these unverified allegations.
Okay, so getting a tip is one thing. But what happens next? That's the real question, isn't it? Well, this document also gives us a peek behind the curtain at the documented follow-up for each of these complaints.
Just look at this table. It shows you the huge variety of responses. In some cases, an agent spoke with callers and even sent a lead to another office for an interview. In other cases, a complainant was talked to and then deemed not credible. But then, just as often, you see notes like 2 voicemails left, no response received, or simply no contact made. It's a really wide spectrum of what happened next, or what didn't.
And this really highlights the potential disconnect. On one side, you've got this detailed tip naming multiple famous people, coming from someone who claims to have been close to Epstein. And on the other side, the entire documented follow-up is just 2 voicemails left, no response received. That's it.
So, okay, we've seen the tips, we've seen the names, we've seen the official responses. What does this all add up to? What does this document actually represent? Let's try and pull it all together. The bottom line is this. This file is not a smoking gun. It is not a confirmation of guilt. It's not even a list of credible accusations. It's a logbook. It's a window into the messy, unfiltered, chaotic stream of information that floods into law enforcement every single day.
So, to wrap it all up, what have we learned? The NTOC names file is basically a big collection of raw, unverified tips. These tips are all over the place, right? From secondhand gossip to direct, first-hand claims of really serious crimes. We've seen that a lot of public figures get named. And the official responses? They vary wildly, from in-depth interviews to, well, nothing. What this file really gives us is a rare glimpse into that very first, often chaotic stage of intelligence gathering.
And all of this leaves us with one final and really important question. This document shows us the raw allegations, right? But it also puts a spotlight on the enormous challenge that investigators face. In a world just drowning in information, how do you find the signal in all that noise? How do you tell the difference between a credible lead and a dangerous distraction, and bridge that huge gap between a raw tip and a proven crime?